And we're live. Content provided at the event is for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Any performance referenced is historical and no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged, may not be invested into directly. Any economic forecasts set forth during the event may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that any strategy will be successful. These thoughts and opinions are those of Gimbal Financial. That's you and me and you and Doug. And do not represent the views of LPL Financial, separate entities. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, a member of FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Gimbal Financial. Again, that's us three and Debbie, a registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL. So I just want to be clear with all that. Good morning.
Good morning, Amanda.
How are you guys?
Doing great.
Anything that we show on here, big disclaimer, we never endorse it. We're not advising it. We're not recommending it. We are just strictly showing it for informational purposes. So
we do recommend that art behind Doug. That's pretty spectacular.
It looks good. I love that one. Thank you, Wes.
Yeah, that turned out nice, didn't it? So we've had a historical start of the year. We had, I think, some of the most historical moves in November and December in the marketplace. And along with that, we've seen the stocks that have led the market much of the last 6 or 7 years start to tail off. And so the market itself is really changing its character, its style right now, and it's a bit in flux, I would say, right now. But that, I think that's all we want to say about the market today. I think that the market itself is doing fairly well, and we're monitoring that very closely. I thought we'd just take a little different approach today and just talk about some more philosophical things.
Before you start, Doug, do you mind talking? Doug or Keith seems just a little muted or a little not that clear.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Could be my volume. Let me try that. All right, I think we're good.
Okay.
Well, you let us know if we can switch this, the microphone if we need to.
Okay.
Yeah, so anyway, 2021 is a great year. It's going to be a lot of changes. We've seen changes right out this window this week. There were ratty looking railroad ties out there and stones and sticks and just all kinds of stuff just a few days. How would you describe it now, Doug?
It's gorgeous, it's new, it's brand new.
Okay.
I'm hoping when people walk by that they, no, still can't hear me.
Let's try to switch.
No, we had some technical difficulties this morning. Keith couldn't even unmute himself for a minute, so we're just rolling with the punches. Not at all.
Move this. Can you hear that?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, we got the keyboard out of the way, and we'll get that out of the way, and hopefully all you viewers will be able to hear us better than what seems to be going on here.
This is our first time doing it.
Definitely can't hear Doug.
What if I turn it this way? Such a paradox. Can you sit here, Doug? Doug and I are going to be really friendly today. Can you hear him now?
Hello. No?
Well, it's better, but it's not that loud.
We apologize for the technical difficulties today. Our stock trading software platform is down completely. So if you hear us at all, we're doing better than they are. Let's put it that way. Do you, Doug, tell us about the art again. And if you can't hear Doug, then I'll do a monologue or just a dialogue with you then, Amanda.
Well, you know, Gimbal Financial, our location is
Oh gosh.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, so we'll get this figured out better next week, but we got new landscaping out there this week. We got to watch a capitalist entity just work like crazy on our behalf, do an amazing job, and just really transform the outside of Gimbal Financial to our neighbors in Carmel here, that we now look like we're open for business. Our temporary sign is gone. We've got a permanent sign. We've got a sign pole that matches the artistic design of the Carmel Arts District. We have it going on the outside, but we thought today we might talk a little bit about what's going on inside Gimbal. Is that all right, Amanda?
That sounds great.
We're not going to let Doug talk today.
Hey, come kick me out of the conference room if you want something to say. Just come pull me aside.
Or maybe you could sit in the conference room too. You could talk to me.
We'll try anything, right?
We are solution people at Gimbal Financial. We don't see problems, we see opportunities. So that's
Oh, I think I have a guest coming in right now.
Oh, a special guest to the Gimbal Financial. Doug, welcome to Gimbal Financial.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
I hear you loud and clearly.
Good.
Yeah, we will navigate this world the best we can. So here we go. Yeah, so as I was saying, Doug, I've talked about the outside of Gimbal Financial. I thought we'd talk a little bit about the inside, what makes us tick, how we see the world uniquely, and what uniquely sets us apart. So we're not going to talk much about the marketplace. We're going to talk specifically about us. And we don't do this often at all. So this will be probably a unique show in that manner. Gimbal Financial started in 1997. The desire for Gimbal Financial, I think, started from the thought, what's the point of growth? And what's the point of growth leads to the question is, what is greed? And those two are tightly in the thoughts of what founded Gimbal Financial. And I heard economist Milton Friedman say that greed is always the other fella. It's never me. And so I was struggling to have an answer for how much is enough for a business. How fast should a business grow? And if a business grows, at what slope and at what velocity and at what point, what's the object of that company growing? And I think if you ask most companies, the object of them growing, the object is to get more, which to me just seemed like I think the picture that comes to mind is George Jetson running on the treadmill. You just keep getting more and more and more, and there's really no object to it. And so we formulated a mission statement for which it's been edited a few times over the years. The essence of it has stayed essentially the same. Doug and I, as owners of Gimbal Financial, operate with the understanding of this mission statement. We don't publicize this mission statement for a number of reasons. It's unique to us. It's our personality. And so this will be one of the few times I'll ever show it publicly, but it's the function of why we operate and how we operate and the desire. We don't get it right all the time, but I don't think any entity does. So let me share the screen with you guys real quickly. And here you have it, that Gimbal Financial is in business to glorify Jesus Christ. We will help our clients effectively manage their resources in a way that balances their financial, social, and spiritual capital. We'll glorify God with every action and desire we make and decision we make in order to benefit our families, our employees, our clients, our business associates. And we'll strive to help everyone that crosses our path, treating each with respect and courtesy. We will accomplish business with nothing less than complete openness and honesty. And we view growth as a result of God's provision. So I don't like to show that to people because it's a personal thing. It's a desire to operate a business from this manner. And it shows our core belief system, for which we know that not everybody agrees with. And it's not necessary that our clients, our coworkers, our business associates agree with that. It's just the function of how we want to operate this business. And so we want to help our clients. That's the core right there. We want to help in that first paragraph. We want to help them. And we want to do it in an honorable way going into the second paragraph. And the priority that's in that second paragraph is to benefit our families, our employees, our clients, and our business associates or suppliers. That's an order for which we strive to do this, because we very much appreciate our clients and the business that you've given us over the years. But we know that it's impossible for our business to function in a orderly manner if we're not taking care of business at home first. And so the families of our team are of high priority to us, and our own families. And so if those aren't put in place, and if we don't treat our employees, our coworkers, our peers with respect, then you're just going to have my mug to look at, and that's not going to be a good thing. And then finally, if we're doing those things right, we feel like we can respect you in a way that exceeds any of our expectations. And so that's where the client is not always right. The client is not first. The client is most of the time right, but you are third in our priority list. And we say that unashamedly, because we need our team in place to be here for all of our clients for a long term. And so we have to make sure those situations are taken care of first. And then finally, our business associates, our suppliers, those people are important to us. However, they're not as high a priority as you or the other ones, but we strive to treat them with incredible dignity and honor. And even when we don't feel like we're getting reciprocity, sometimes we try to honor those relationships, whether it's Eric's our mailman here, or whether it's our printers, or whatever relationship, we're always trying to honor those folks. And as a result, if we're able to keep those balls in the air, we feel like growth will just take care of itself. If we focus our business purely on growing our business, my opinion has always been that we will undermine those other key relationships, and consequently, we will become like robots for which we don't have a great deal of respect for those other ones. And I'm not judging anybody else that doesn't have the same point of view. It's just unique to our personalities, I think. So that's my explanation of it. What would you guys throw in there on top of that?
Well, what comes to mind to me is that those first few years that I was in business, going back to year 2000, I made a trip to St. Louis, Missouri, to the A.G. Edwards and Sons corporate office, and was able to meet Ben Edwards. What a great man he was. And came back to the Indianapolis office enthusiastic and energized. And there was a sign in our break room, probably right next door, or right next to the the rights of a worker, or stuff like that. And the sign said, "We are truly in business to help people." And that was Ben Edwards' words. And this was from a person who created a very nice business, created opportunities for people to showcase their talents and for clients to find trusted advice. And he was able to sum it up with, "We're in business to help people." And one of the best ways that we can help people is, as my friend Don says, is to listen. We have to listen. and so we're counting on all of you to give us feedback. And we want to be able to receive that feedback, think it through. Sometimes that feedback can even be difficult, because who's right? Who's wrong? Is it even about that? And we really want to focus on helping, but the way to do it is just through candor and communication.
I skipped through one sentence on that, Doug and Amanda, that says we will strive to help everyone that crosses our path. I didn't hammer on that very much, but our industry has historically drawn a line in the sand. Unless you have X dollars, we won't do business with you. It's kind of what's evolved to. And it makes sense to draw that line in the sand, because in order to benefit families and employees, if you help everybody that comes along the line, you might find yourself overworked and not able to get home and take care of things. But we honestly try to help everybody that crosses our path. It doesn't mean we're going to enter into a business relationship with everybody that crosses our path, but I think it's a true statement that if somebody wants some help with their finances, we will sit down with them and help them get pointed in the proper direction and coach them and cheer them on. And that doesn't overwhelm us so far. So far, we've been able to help people that have had all different situations, and it's been an honor to help those folks.
Technology's improved. It's allowed us to do more things. And, you know, when I first started with you, Keith, back in 2003, we were limited and didn't even know it. I really don't know how business people did it before computers. I know they did, because it was all about relationships. You know, read Stephen Covey or Dale Carnegie. I mean, those things are still true today. But the technology, some improvements that we've had, has really cleaned up the way that we can help people.
I think, Amanda, did you? I don't hear you. I don't hear Amanda.
I know it's directionally, but the purpose of doing, you still can't? Oh my gosh.
I can hear you now. I can hear you
okay,
now.
I'm gonna stay right here, get really close. The purpose of doing even this was to, especially during COVID times, if we weren't going to be able to meet with you in person or get a hold of you on the phone, we wanted to offer something like this where we were expressing our opinions and getting our faces in front of you guys just in a virtual way. And I'm done, so in case you lose me again.
You guys don't look like you're social distancing very well, so. Yeah, I'm sorry. I really feel for families. I think our desire has always been to help people, and it's hard to find somebody that you can trust in the financial services business. And so when Doug joined us, one of the things that I had an epiphany, a spiritual awakening or something, is that prior to that point, I don't know if it happened right before you got there, Doug, but I felt like that I as a leader had not been honoring our suppliers in the proper way. And that was a revolutionary thing. Even though they're fourth on the list there, we started intentionally honoring our suppliers and doing very aggressive things in that way. And one of the first ones was we did a babysitting night for them, and we had the Gimbal office, just kids bounce things, kids everywhere, and a lot of our suppliers were young families, and so it was really a fun part of Gimbal history, I'd say.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And of course, Caroline and I didn't have any kids, and I did not understand the point of that of that night out. And so anyone who wants to, well, anyway, a night out is important.
Yeah. And so we've been very intentional about the relationships we have over the years, and those are a big deal to us. We've shown loyalty to people. We've just given people a lot of attention, and one of those relationships is LPL Financial. We joined LPL long before anybody knew their name. I think when I joined, there was maybe 2,500 advisors, and I think I've heard there's over 17,000 now. So it's evolved. They've evolved to a different business. One of our business plans going into 2021 is to just revisit that relationship and see if that's the proper one for us for the long term. And I thought I would give you a quick example. If this represents Gimbal Financial, like this is the service that we provide to you, and and you're the end. My headset is not working, but you guys work hard. Don't get me wrong. And so we have to somehow get things to you, right? You're the end point of our reason for being in business. And so we have to plug this into the wall to have access to certain things that we deliver to you. That wall outlet is what's known as a broker dealer or a provider to the access of things on Wall Street. They're the people that actually physically have your resources. We don't have them here in Carmel, Indiana. And they have been a great partner for us for many years. We just are kicking the tires to make sure they're the right partner going forward, and whether we're going to stay plugged into LPL Financial for the long term. If not, we'll be communicating to you and telling you where the new outlet is that we're going to be connecting to. And it's just a business decision for which we just are revisiting after 24 years of working alongside LPL.
Yeah, I think one of the, what's the saying, the most consistent thing is change.
Yeah.
And we've been walking through several different types of change over the past year and since 1997 for you, Keith, and you know, late 90s for me too. And so we just want to make sure that we're bringing you guys the best technology, the best service we can, and the best channels to be able to hear you out.
I think the attitude of us is that we view you as our employer, and we are feel like you've delegated a lot of responsibility to us as the employee, and so we're doing a lot of things behind the scenes for which you probably don't even know that we're doing, but that's what you'd expect a good team member to do for you. And so as we're kicking these tires this year, we'll keep you up to date if there's anything that changes, and it may be that LPL is able to show us different ways to do things that'll advance what we're doing even with LPL. So we're excited to learn the things that we will in the days and weeks and months ahead. I had shifting topics. I like Mike Rowe. I don't know if anybody else likes Mike Rowe, but he has a podcast called The Way I Heard It. And it's a podcast for those with a short attention span, which that's and he's changed the format a bit this year, but his podcasts were usually about 7 or 8 minutes long. And then if I play them with 2 times normal speed, they're about 3.5 minutes long. So
I don't recommend that.
Yeah. So I was listening to one that really encouraged me last night, and I threw it out there to the team that we might talk about it today, just briefly, because I know we've almost exhausted our time. But I was looking for the podcast number here real quick, but the essence of it was Mike Rowe started on QVC, I think, one of those shopping networks. He was peddling goods and services that nobody really wanted, but he was trying to make them spicy so the late night viewers would buy his, I don't know if his services, probably just goods. I don't know what kind of trinkets they would do, but then he evolved and he did the Dirty Jobs show. And then now he has narrated a science show. I don't know if it was on the Discovery Channel or what. Do you remember, Doug, what that was?
No, I don't remember what it was on.
Yeah, and so he was talking about the idea, it's his podcast number 181, off by roughly 2 trillion. What he was talking about is the idea of civility, the idea of building relationships in a time for which division seems to be the most valuable thing to the messengers of a narrative in our culture. And I think the only way to build unity is to establish your own narrative and not listen to those for the media sources that are providing you with your narrative.
And it's a piggyback too on something we've talked about before with Malcolm Gladwell's interview, Free Brian Wilson.
Yeah.
These things are dancing partners.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what are the facts?
Yeah.
How do we know they're facts?
Right. Right.
How do we introduce social graces?
I think Gen Xers are the cynical generation, and I'm right at the end of the baby boomer. So I've got that okay boomer part of my personality and the cynical part of being a Gen Xer. So I'm this crazy kind of personality, but there's a certain cynicism I have towards things that I see on no matter what part of an argument. But what Mike Rowe was saying on this podcast was that he's paid to do a script and do it with enthusiasm and confidence, right? And he was doing one about the universe. And they called him back to the studio a few days later to redo a line on that series. And his producer said, Mike, you sound just as convincing when you're wrong as you do when you're right. Got that? You sound just as convincing when you're wrong as you do when you're right. I don't know if any of our viewers have that same kind of affliction. I know I do. My conviction when I'm wrong is not much different when I'm right. As I'm getting more seasoned, more sand at the bottom of the hourglass, I try not to jump on my convictions as heavy as I did when I was in my 20s. But then Mike Rowe jumped back in and he said, I realized that I had that same conviction, even if I'm off by 2 trillion. You got that? Even if I'm off by 2 trillion. And here is.
I like what, as you're showing that, Keith, that one of the things Mike Rowe said, and whether you're a micro fan or not, don't let that get in the way. But he said, you start with what you think you know. You have the presence of certainty is equal to the opposite of the presence of humility. And so just balancing those two out. And I went ahead and just looked up the definitions of these things. And that was a good exercise to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. What he was telling is that there are 100 billion. That's this. Do you see this number up here? That's 100 billion. I had to kind of make sure I had the right number of zeros there. That's 100 billion. So he went on this science show and said there's 100 billion galaxy in our known universe. Like the Milky Way is one galaxy, right? Is that right? One galaxy is the Milky. You sound
pretty certain as you say that.
Yeah. So when we look out on a dark night away from Indianapolis, all those stars is the Milky Way. That's one galaxy. And he's pounding the table. There's 100 billion of these. They bring him back into the studio because they found out that there's a different way of recording this, and there's actually 2 trillion galaxies out there. And so he was only off by 1.9 trillion galaxies.
Close.
That's a rounding error amongst friends, right? And so my guess is whatever I'm pounding the table about, I'm often wrong. I'm sure nobody else is ever wrong with what they pound the table.
We've never sensed that, Keith. You're just doing a great job, boss.
Yeah, and so I really thought what you said, Doug, was right. That when Mike Rowe said the presence of certainty is evidence of the absence of humility, I think that's a big deal. Is that doing what we do drives us constantly to humility because we work with imperfect assessments. We have to adjust when the world changes, when the economy changes. And I think doing what we do makes us more and more humble just by the nature of what we do, right? Do you perceive that?
Yeah, I sure do. And being in an environment where you can get back into the game is just critical. And that's where we want to be with you guys is as we receive your feedback, we want to get back into the game and keep moving forward. And this type of honest communication, just straightforwardness, will get us there. It might take some time, but it will get us there.
Yeah, and I think the takeaway from Roe's podcast is just 2 words: just be kind.
Yeah, as I listened to it, I was just thinking, introduce more grace in my life, and really, again, going back to what our friend Don said, a lot of times that can just start with listening.
Yeah. Well, Kim Moore taught me that as well, and cheers to Kim. Well, we've taken up all of our time. It's not necessarily been our best production with all the sound issues. And
yeah, this pretty much, I'm going to rate this. I mean, we rebounded, but I'll give us a 4.7.
Okay. So there you have it. You guys have a great week. We're thankful for you, and we'll see you soon.